Alright, so while the regional went pretty okay, like not the greatest, and Blue Eyes has been doing alright, I wanted to try something different this week. I want to see if maybe with the new Forbidden Unlimited list, there is an opportunity to kind of pick apart the expected format from a different axis. So I'm going to be playing a different deck this week. This is one that I've kind of seen. Or not even kind of seen. It was a deck that I saw a few weeks ago, like early March, and it was something I really thought was cool, and I just never got a chance to play. So I figured this week is kind of the perfect opportunity to play something different, since everybody's going to be I would assume, trying to make like their decks work as well as they can. It's the perfect opportunity to kind of swoop in with a solid, easy, like low to the ground strategy and just beat up on their weaker decks. Now, also, the release of Stampede was this week as well, so that does mean that I have to expect for more Fiendsmith cards, more Molchramies, and things like that, which is another reason I actually like this deck. But with that in mind, let's just jump right on in so I can show you guys what I'm playing tonight at locals and see how it goes. Okay, so despite hyping up Blue Eyes and talking about how strong I think it was going to be, I ended up deciding to play Kashtira tonight. Now, this was a choice that wasn't necessarily the easiest one to come to, but ultimately it boiled down to the fact that I think that, at least at the start of the format, you know, my local area is going to be mostly just Malice and Ryziel. They're going to be trying to figure out how to, like, cope with the fact that, you know, their engines just got hit so hard. Not a lot changes for Blue Eyes, so there's not much testing to be done there. And pre-alliance insight, not a lot happens anyways. So I wanted to try Kashtira. This was a deck that I had seen succeed in a smaller regional. I think it was at Israel recently with the Primate Engine, and I liked that a lot. Spoiler alert, I am playing the Primate Engine. So shoutouts to him for that. That was pretty cool. But I thought there was just a couple of things that could maybe get changed to help make this a little bit stronger. And then when the format shifted with the list, I was like, oh, now's the perfect time. So I'm just going to jump right into this. As always, if you guys want to pick up any of the cards in the video, please use the affiliate link down below. A portion that does help me while you're helping yourself out, so it's greatly appreciated. But we'll just kind of go through it really quick. So you have 3 Unicorn, 3 Fenrir, and then the 1 Rise Heart for Kashtira monsters. That is it, actually. There's no Ogre, Scareclaw, or Tearlaments. I did consider Scareclaw cash, but I feel like it's just too reactive of a card. That might end up coming back to haunt me, but we have those. And then there's 3 Pressure Planet Raidsoth, 1 Theosis, 1 Birth. That is it for the Kashtira engine of the deck. And then for the Primate engine, there's 3 Ether Barrel, 3 Lordly Load, and then the 1 Drill Beam. And then to go with that, we have 1 Luster Dragon, 1 Ryu Ran, and then obviously Pot of Prosperity is going to be, you know, a generic engine card. So, explaining the 2 dragons, this is not just like a random choice. This is actually, I spent way too much time on Duran looking at normal monsters this week. Ryu Ran is the only level 7 dragon normal monster in the game that is not light or dark. And that matters because obviously being level 7 means it can pair well with the Kashtiras. Being a dragon means it can pair well with the Primate dragons. So that's really good. And then not being a light or dark means it can't be hit by Bestials. And while yes, the Bestial counts in the game has gotten lower because of losing 2 Druid Swarms, I do still want to avoid playing into Bestials as much as possible, which is also why Luster Dragon is the dragon level 4 being played. If you're going off of just like maximizing stat boosts and like stat points, this should be an Alexander Dragon, but I think losing 100 attack to make sure that it can't be Bestial in a local where the Malice deck is still going to probably be fairly popular is going to be really beneficial. One thing I'd like to highlight too as well about the deck is just how consistent this should be. If you take out these 6 cards, the rest of the engine is all starter cards. You got Unicorn, Fenrir, Ether Barrel, Lordly Load, Raidsoth, and Prosperity. That is 16 starter cards. So that gives you an incredibly high chance to see all of these, which is going to be really beneficial. Because again, we are just trying to play every game as much as I can. Then for the non-engine, I have 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 3 Droll and Lockbird. A card I'm not too big of a fan of, but I'm going to give it a shot tonight, is 2 Molchramies Foolos. The idea with Foolos being that it makes it so playing... it's tough. So I'm not a big fan of Fulos. That has never been like an unknown thing. However, I think that it helps create half boards, and Kashtira is really good going second into half boards. So Fulos helps do that. Fulos also, with the way the format has shifted now, you kind of just have to commit a little bit harder with your Malice plays and your Ryziel plays. You know, if you get hit by a Fulos, you kind of just go for it a little bit and hope that it gets you there. So that's why that's there. It's still not a card I am too terribly fond of, but we will see. These could also just come out for something else. You know, Ogre was considered, Veiler was considered, Book of Moon was considered. Like, these two were really just the slots that I was very unsure about. There's 3 Imperms, 3 Dominus Purge, and then I'm playing 3 Metal Tronus and a Triple Tactics Talent in the main. So you'll also notice I'm not playing cards like Crossout Designator or Call by the Grave. These could be those as well. Really, the main thing was that I just wanted to have 14 hand traps. That's a really solid number. It gives you really good odds to C2. And then the Metal Tronus is just like a generically good card into a fairly defined format in that, like, Mamatotlin, although that's not going to be my local most likely, but we have like Crystron, Ryziel, Malice, those kinds of things. Blue Eyes, that's a very popular deck. And Metal Tronus has targets against all those, so that's really good. So we'll have to see how it goes. But that is the main deck. It is exactly 40 cards. Very rare of me to be one to play 40 cards these days, but I felt like it was a deck that you don't have as much flexibility, even though you have like a good starter count. So I wanted to maximize or minimize the amount of cards in the deck so I could see my starters, hopefully in pairings, more often. For the extra deck, we have the Crystron Alescatus, Ryziel Detonator, Baguska, and then Dark Armed, Shangri-Ira, Dracosac, Galaxy Knights Full Armor Photon, and Cypher Dragon, Neurologic Aggregator, Typhon, Zeus, SP, Donner, Seal, and Whitebinder. So it looks like a total mishmash, but I promise there is a purpose. Whitebinder is obviously a very good Metal Tronus target. Same with Hieratic Seal. Seal is also really cool because I can Metal Tronus for Seal, and then even if the Seal is negated, I contribute it, and then, you know, it gets negated, but then its Graveyard Effect will activate, which is not going to be negated, and I can only special summon a dragon from there, which is just like a really random idea that I had. Donner and SP are just to clear my field if necessary. I don't know how much that's going to honestly come up, but I wanted to have them just in case. And then Zeus and Typhon are pretty self-explanatory. Typhon does conflict with the Purge. However, honestly, just summoning a Typhon and just sitting on it that's negating monster effects could just be good enough. And when I have stuff like Pressure Planet, which is going to be boosting the attack points of the Typhon, that can actually be a really big problem. Aggregator is both a Metal Tronus as well as an Ultimate Slayer target. The Galaxy Eyes package here is really cool because this is a Metal Tronus target for both Ryziel and Blue Eyes, but I can always just summon Cypher Dragon. It's negated, obviously, off of Metal Tronus, and I can just go into Full Armor Photon, and then attack over a card and then pop. So that's a 2-card, like a Metal Tronus can negate a card, and then I can swing over it so the Metal Tronus is traded, and then I just go into this and I get another free card out of that. So that's a pretty good exchange there. Dracosac is obviously just a good rank 7. Shangri-Ira is solid, although I don't think I'm honestly going to be summoning this that much. It also interacts poorly with Purge, same with Dark Armed. Baguska is kind of just there. Detonator is the target, and then Alescatus is also a target. For the side Zac, this is currently very much a work in progress, but I have 3 Lancias. I do imagine that Malice will still be very popular. It's also solid into the Crystron deck, so that'll be solid. And then 3 Vanities Fiend. This is for when I go first. This is gonna be like my generic going first card. You know, summoning like Fenrir, searching Unicorn, and then tributing for Vanities Fiend, and just passing on that can honestly just be enough to win the game a lot of times. It is gonna be interesting though, because obviously cards like Imperm can hurt, but if they don't have it, then they just straight up lose the game. There's 2 Thrust, 2 lightning storms, a duster, and then I have 4 thrust targets, dimensional barrier, sanctum, different dimension ground, and a single ultimate slayer. The reason why I only have 1 ultimate slayer is because I figured between the 2 thrust and the slayer, that gives me a 35% chance to see one of these 3 going second, so it's pretty solid. And drawing like multiple copies of this isn't always the best. Not totally sure how that'll do. Different dimension ground should be decent if like we're playing into Mitsurugi or Fiendsmith variants. Sanctum is just there to get Lancia, just to hopefully like blow out games, and then D-Barrier is just obviously another like insane card. But that is the deck that I am taking tonight. We'll have to see how it goes. I'm honestly pretty nervous because I don't particularly find a ton of success playing like anti-meta strategies, but if you have ever spoken to me about how I feel about Kashtira, you know that I feel that this is just modern gadgets, like the 2007 deck, which is one of the decks that I personally find to be the most fun and rewarding decks that I've ever played. So getting to do this again is going to be very exciting. But let's get off to locals. Okay, so the last couple nights have gone okay. I've gone 3-1 both times. Not spectacular, not terrible, but it's not ideal. And so I'm going to change up the deck a little bit more. I want to continue trying Kashtira for the week and see how it does in the current format. So far my losses were to Crystron, where I specifically lost to like the Millennium cards existing, also to my own Lancia, which is a little rough, and then I lost to Goblin Biker last night, which was really rough, and that was due to it was a mixture of things. Like it was just like I drew really poorly. I didn't get any games last night. Sorry about that, by the way. But I drew very poorly in game 3. I had sighted into like I think 20 plus hand trips total, and I saw none, which is like insane. And so all I had was like a single Fenrir, and that just like wasn't enough. Really quick, actually, just to recap last night. So last night was the Stampede Celebration Tournament. I ended up, like I said, going 3-1. Round 1, I played against Goblin Biker. He won game 1, just like set up everything, and I couldn't push through it. Game 2, or no, I think he OTK'd me actually. Like he just opened up insane. Game 2, I ended up winning. Like I opened up with like the Unicorn, Fenrir, Ether Barrel, Ryu Ran, Trill Beam, and like a bunch of other nonsense. Like he just couldn't do anything. And then game 3 was, like I said, I just kind of bricked going into that. Like I don't know that saying I bricked is not necessarily accurate. I drew like nothing but engine and wasn't able to push through his stuff, which was really frustrating. Then round 2, I played against Salamangrade actually, which is really funny. That is a deck, as you guys know, I'm a big fan of. And unfortunately for them, I managed to win. Game 1, I messed up really badly. I used Purge from hand. I had Purge and Ash, and I used Purge from hand, which then turned off my Ash. And then they were able to OTK and just like literally kill me because I made such a horrendous misplay, which is extremely tilting. Then game 2, let's see, I'm trying to think what happened. I managed to banish most of their deck face down, like most of their key cards. Riseheart showed why Riseheart is annoying, banishing a copy of Rage face down, and then that was the cards that they needed to be able to break the board, and they didn't have access to that, which was very good. And then game 3, they drew the Sanctuary, and I drew just like a ton of hand traps, and I was just simplifying the game state because I knew that as soon as the game state got simplified, a single Fenrir was going to be just too much, and that's what ended up happening. Round 3, I played against Malice, and it was Malice Fiendsmith. Game 1, they had to pass, they just didn't draw anything, and they died very quickly. And then in game 2, I Lancia'd them, and then they passed and died very quickly. So that was it. And then round 4, I played against what did I play against round 4? I played against Branded, which was really interesting. Game 1 was a real grind. I just ended up scooping it up. I realized I couldn't win. Game 2, I ended up winning thanks to honestly just Drill Beam, putting in a ton of work. And then game 3, they drew awkwardly, and I just very quickly overwhelmed them. So so that was pretty cool. Ended up getting 4th place. Didn't win the Raging Phoenix Mad, unfortunately, but that's fine. I'll show you guys the deck that I'm playing today because I am changing it up a little bit more, and we'll get off the hole. All right, so like I said, I am playing Kashtira still. I think the deck is just really solid, and it has a decent time into an unknown format that's really open. So I just changed up some of the non-engine for today, and we'll have to see how it goes. So first up, we still have the 3 unicorns, 3 Fenrirs. One of the things I changed is I'm playing Scareclaw Kashtira. The thing with Scareclaw that I like a lot is nobody's really able to play around like a single effect negation, and I also just found that there's a lot of games where I wanted Scareclaw specifically because I could attack and defense, so the Theosis was just a benefit. I also just needed another level 7, so Scareclaw I thought was the best one. And there's the one Rise Hearts. I bumped it up to 2 Birth, and then there's still just the 1 Theosis. I don't think Theosis is very good, honestly. It's really just kind of there, primarily, honestly, just to get like another name, but because you play into too many hand traps that way. So, and then 3 Wraitsoth. For the Primites, there's 3 Ether Barrel, 3 Lordly Load, the 1 Drill Beam Still, and then the 2 Dragons. And then I'm playing Prosperity. If I cut the dragons, I could play like a Winged Beast, like Harpy's Lady or something like that, and then play Harpy's Featherstorm. But I feel like that's just too gimmicky. Like you're putting too much stock in like drawing the stones. So, and then it just like makes your deck have even more awkward draws. Like at least the Ryu Ran and the Luster like are both theoretically normal summons. Like I have normal summon Ryu Ran multiple times because of Birth, which is really funny. So. For the non-engine, there's 3 Ash Blossom and Joy Spring, 3 Imperm, and then that is it for hand traps. The rest is just like board breaker cards. And the idea behind this is that I just don't like playing a ton of hand traps. I don't like doing the mini game of like hoping that I draw a ton of good hand traps and that I draw like 1 engine. So instead I'm playing a smaller number of board breakers that are just good going first and second. The only one that's only good going second is Ultimate Slayer. In an open format, Slayer isn't the greatest, but the extra deck is open enough that I think I can get away with it. Also, Slayer is obviously just like a solid card against every matchup. And while it's not good going first, I think that the deck is still so solid going first, I can build it for going second and then just be fine. Then there's 2 Book of Moon and 2 Book of Eclipse. I just don't want to ever see 2 of either of them, frankly. Like, I want to have the variety. Then 1 Talent, 1 Call by the Grave, and then I'm playing Harpy's Feather Duster as well. This is primarily for making side decking easier, but I also just wanted to have like a good generic blowout card. And Duster seemed like it was gonna be solid. Then there's for the extra deck the Baguska, the Dracossack, Shangri-Ira. I put in Flare Metal Dragon. I was between this, Big Eye, and what is the other card? Tornado Dragon. Ultimately, I decided on Flare Metal because I just felt like sometimes the games just get to a point where like I can't quite do enough damage. And also like if I know I'm playing against Malice, I could just summon this and then just watch as they can't really play because they're just gonna take too many burn, like way too much burn. And then Dark Armed, Zeus and Typhon, Haggard Lizardos, Seal, and SP. That is it for the cards I actually play. Like these are the only like summonable cards in my extra deck. The rest are just Ultimate Slayer targets. So you've got Natis, Garura, Malong, Aggregator, and Bucephalus. The Bucephalus and the Garura go together, obviously. Natis is for any fusion deck. Malong is for any synchro deck, and then Aggregator is for the Ryziel deck. So that is it for the side deck, or the extra deck. For the side deck, I'm citing the 3 Drolls, and then I'm also citing 2 Fuelos. I figure when I go second, I want to have, like, Droll is primarily, honestly, to respect Fiendsmith decks, which are going to be everywhere right now. It is also to respect Mitsurugi Ryziel, which is a genuinely horrifying deck to play against. Fuelos is also just to respect those kinds of decks. And, like, even though they conflict, I can just take out, like, a bunch of the cards that, like, aren't that great going second in certain matchups. Like, I can take out, for example, 1 Birth and 1 Unicorn, because going second, like, these are weaker cards. I could take out redundant copies of Planet and stuff, and just put in, like, more blowout-y type cards. And then I'm playing 3 Inscriptions. This is for Mitsurugi Ryziel as well as Malice. It's also good against every Fiendsmith deck. And 2 Thrust, 2 Lightning Storm, and then my 3 Thrust targets from when I go first. DDG is just like generically good into pretty much everything that isn't Ryziel or Malice. Daruma Karma Cannon I think is going to be really good, specifically into Malice, but it's also good into Ryziel. And then D-Barrier is for everything that isn't Malice as well. So that is the deck. There's not much to say. Let's just get off to locals so we can see how it goes. Okay, so right here we have round 1 of the box tournament. I'm facing Nico, who's using a Millennium Christian deck. I didn't record turn 1, but as you can see, I set up pretty well with a Lordly Load that's a face-down Drill Beam. We have Unicorn, Fenrir, Luster Dragon, and Ether Barrel. This is basically like the full combo of what I'm willing to do. This gives me access to 3 interactions at least, as well as follow-up. He activates his Sengenjen. I Fenrir to banish that face down, which then forces that out. I'm holding the Unicorn, and as you can see in my hand too, I also have Ghost Mourner, so that's really solid. I also have looks like Reiran and another Unicorn. He summons Tristaros, activates his what is that? Golem. I think about it for a minute because I have a lot of options here actually as to how I want to do it. I think I end up activating the Unicorn with the idea being that that'll force out the Tristaros, and then I can Drill Beam it, get rid of it, and then he's pretty much just locked down from there. And the cool thing about this matchup actually is it showcases just how simplistic this deck is in its approach. Yep, he activates the Tristaros, I chain the Drill Beam, which gets rid of the Tristaros. Then I get to look at his extra deck, and I believe I take out the Doom Dragon, which then just like locks down everything. Yeah, because then that just locks down the only thing he could do, which then he has to scoop because he's used his normal summon there. And Doom Dragon is typically how he manages to play around having to give up his normal summon. It's usually a pretty good way to extend through his plays. Going into the side deck, though, I'm looking at my Mold Charmies. The Ghost Ogre is going to be really good. Ghost Bell is also really good in this matchup, and so is Nibiru, actually. All of my hand traps are really good, so I just have to consider which ones I want to take out. And I think I just take out a Planet, maybe a Unicorn, because Unicorn's a lot worse going second. One of the Births as well, because I played 2, so I can get rid of one of those. And we just go ahead and put some hand traps in there. Not quite sure what he's going to do on his side here, but he is going to be up first game 2, which is going to obviously be a lot harder for me, but thankfully this deck is really straightforward in its approach, and that lets me put together a pretty robust plan for how we want to approach things. We also, it looks like I took out a Fenrir, which that I think is a mistake, actually. I believe I took out a Fenrir as well, forgetting that I only played 2, which is something I needed to think about later on in the night. But as we are getting shuffled up here, you can see that it was a really quick game, which is unfortunate. His Christian deck is really good, and he's actually really good with it too. So it's usually exciting to see. He can do some really crazy stuff, and if you've been a long-time watcher of the channel, you know Nico is he's my nemesis when it comes to this series because he's always beating me. But our opening hand consists of Planet, Ether Barrel, Imperm Droll, and another Planet. So we have 3 starters and 2 pretty strong non-engine cards. We see the Tristaros there, which is obviously going to be really good. And then he has to set, though, which means that his hand is pretty bad. That 1 set card, to me, just screams inclusion. And then I draw the Drill Beam, which is the best possible draw in this scenario because it means that if it is inclusion, I'm totally fine. And I can also just activate the Pressure Planet pretty ignorantly as well. Now, I do have to consider here that if he didn't activate Tristaros there and waited for me to summon the barrel, or if I had summoned barrel, I would actually not be okay because I wouldn't be able to reveal the barrel. Thankfully, the Tristaros is activated right away. Drill Beam hits it, and now I'm able to grab Unicorn, which is funny because I just said how it's not very good going second, but when your opponent doesn't really have much of a field going first, Unicorn gets a lot better. So we get to summon the Unicorn, then I summon the Ether Barrel. You'll notice I didn't activate the Unicorn first. That is because I wanted to make sure that the Ether Barrel would be the one responded to, and then if it was, then the Unicorn could search or could rip a card. And then we activate Lordly Load, grabbing another Ether Barrel, which obviously isn't the greatest, but that is okay because you already have the Drill Beam that we can reset face down. I'm not quite sure what I'm searching for here. Maybe... Oh, then I activated the Unicorn effect to grab Theosis. There we go. I was very confused for a moment. And now it is just a simple matter of sequencing to make sure that I don't overcommit. So we activate Theosis. He chains Ash Blossom, which is pretty perfect because now we're just like throwing cards at each other. I get to look at his extra deck again. And I think I hit Cyber Dragon Nova because there's no point hitting Doom Dragon here. Yeah, so we hit Nova, which cuts him off of the Infinity line, which also just makes summoning like a bunch of bodies not quite as efficient. We reset the Drill Beam with the effect. And now I'm going to take a moment to think. Activate, I believe, the Lordly Load and special summon Luster Dragon. Now, Luster Dragon was particularly good here because it means that I can always go into I can go into rank 4 or Spheres if I want to. And then I have a Unicorn for 27 and an Ether Barrel for 18, so 45. So he should be at 35, which is... that's the other reason I like this deck too. It's a ton of damage, like up front. You're front loading a lot of damage, and as we can see here, all I have to do is set an imperm, and I decide just to pass. I believe I don't even think I choose to. Yeah, I don't even exceed summon. There's no reason to. There's no reason to cut off my Drill Beam or require that the Ether Barrel in hand is required for it. He activates Harpy's Feather Duster, which I instantly have the Drill Beam, and that should be banished, but it doesn't really matter. And yeah, he has to pass because he has nothing and scoops it up. So that is round 1. Let's see how round 2 goes. All right, so future me here. I ended up changing the deck from the board breaker approach to way heavier hand trap approach. After thinking about it some more, I decided to basically take the approach of the Fiendsmith Cashier deck, but instead of the Fiendsmith cards, we're playing the Primite cards. So to show you guys the deck really quick, I'll kind of go over some of the math as we go. So first up, you have 3 Ether Barrel, 3 Lordly Load, a Drill Beam, and then 1 Luster Dragon and 1 Ryu-Ran. Like I mentioned before, the Ryu-Ran and Luster Dragon aren't just like to be funny. These are actually genuinely important. Luster Dragon is the best level 4 dragon because it is a wind, so it can't be hit by Bestials, so in the Malice matchup that does matter. And then Ryu-Ran can't be hit by Bestials, so it is the best level 7 dragon. And being a level 7 is obviously important because of the Cashier cards. If you don't worry about the Bestials, then obviously you can get better cards that way. Like I could play like Red Eyes Black Dragon, I could play Serpent Dragon, I could play... Honestly, Xiaoryu would be the best one because it is 2500 attack. But Ryu-Ran has been solid. Also, its defense is pretty solid, and when you have Pressure Planet, it very easily could be like a pretty hard wall to answer. So there's that. And then for the Cashiers, I played 3 Unicorn, 2 Fenrir, 1 Rise Heart, 3 Pressure Planets, 2 Birth, and a Theosis. So previously, it was 3-3-1 and then 1 Birth. Ultimately, I ended up cutting 1 Birth, or I ended up cutting 1 Fenrir for a second copy of Birth. That was mostly because I kept finding that Unicorn wasn't getting as much utility after turn 1, and just seeing a second copy of Birth is going to be way stronger. Just being able to draw a Birth more often is going to be way stronger. It was very solid overall. I could consider going back down to 1 Birth for a Fenrir, but I think having this spread is really good. The reason why there's only 2 Fenrirs, honestly, is because Fenrir is not as good going first, whereas Unicorn is better, and then going second, I take out one of the Unicorns because Fenrir is better going second, and then I have 5 copies when I go second. So it ends up working out okay. So that was all the engine. It is exactly 21 engine cards, and that's important because it gives me an 82.8% chance to see at least 2 of any of these cards in my hand. Now I am counting these, which is, you know, not ideal because these are not starters. But then that leaves me with 15 starters, which is going to give you a pretty solid chance to see a starter card in your opening hand. Let me do some quick math here. So I have 42 cards. If I want to see 2 starters, at least 2 starters in my hand, that's going to give me a 59% chance. So roughly almost 60%. You have to think that if I'm only seeing 2 starters and I'm not seeing any of the other cards, it means I'm seeing all non-engine, and that's going to be fine because this deck is really just looking to grind out with its non-engine. In fact, I play 21 non-engine, so the split is the same. So there's an 82.8% chance to see at least 2 non-engine in my opening hand, and it's any 2 non-engine, so it's going to be really pretty good. For the non-engine, I play 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 3 Droll Lockbird, 3 Infinite Impermanence, and 3 Dominus Purge. That's it for the 3 ofs. These are the only hand traps I felt like were solid enough to just justify at 3. The rest were all 2 ofs because I just wanted to see pairings of them. Also, you'll notice that 2 of the 4 hand traps that I play at 3 are hard ones per turns. And then for the rest of the 3 ofs, that's a hard ones per turn. This is really a hard ones per turn, and this is a hard ones per turn. So I only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 play sets of cards that are truly hard ones per turns. I guess 6 if you count that. And the reason why that's important is because it means that when you do all the math and, like, you know, seeing duplicates and stuff, at least I'm not seeing a ton of hard ones per turns. So my hands, even though they might not be the most like, they might not have the highest variety, I will at least be able to use most of the cards. And then from there, the rest of the hand traps are just 2 ofs. And the reason for that, even though I dislike 2 ofs, is that I just want to see pairings of cards. I just want to see different names. These ones all were 3 ofs because these are just like the most important ones to see. But then after that, I just want to see like any of the rest of them. So I mean, 2 Bell, 2 Mourner, 2 Ogre, 2 Veiler, and then I'm playing 1 Nibiru. All these cards are really solid. The only one that I'm kind of iffy on is Ogre. I could see taking Ogre out for like a Call by the Grave and or like a talent and a second Nibiru, just so I have that. But I just wanted to have, like I said, the spread across the board here of all of these different ones. That kind of just let you do what you need to do, honestly. Even Bell right now is really solid because of all of the Fiendsmith cards that are being played. And then obviously it's good into Malice. For the extra deck doesn't really matter all that much, gotta be totally honest. You don't use 95% of it. It's really just here for like the scenarios where it does come up, because the vast majority of the time, I am just trying to end on Unicorn, Fenrir, and then Ether Barrel, either Normal Monster, and like Drill Beam, or Unicorn, Fenrir, plus a billion hand traps. Or even just like Ether Barrel with a Drill Beam and a billion hand traps. It's a very like straightforward play. So the extra deck, Changing. This doesn't go well with the Purge, but I just like the idea of just being like, even though I can't use its effect afterwards, I could just, if I use Purge from hand, I can just summon this, and the stat differential will eventually matter. And then there's Bakuska, Tornado Dragon. These are the only rank 4s. The idea here being that like these are just probably the 2 most live ones. Baguska definitely did come up a few times. Tornado Dragon did not yet, but I needed another rank 4 that I did not mind playing. And I was between Tornado Dragon, Dugaris, and what's the other one? Tornado Dragon, Dugaris, and Cowboy. Just so I like, because there was also a few times where like game would get close, and I couldn't quite quite kill, so that might be a consideration. And then Dark Armed, same thing, like this conflicts with Purge, but that's okay. Shangri-Ira, same thing. And like these conflicts don't really matter, like I said, 'cause you're not really summoning them most of the time, and if you are, like these are just gonna be Zeus, so it's not a big deal. Draco Sack, primarily just to out like, you know, random card. Red Eyes. So this one, in theory, does conflict with Purge, however the burn does not, and that actually came up quite a few times where just like games would get close, and then I could just summon this, and this plus like 1 or 2 hand traps was just too much. I really liked having Red Eyes in the deck tonight. And then there's Zeus, 2 Typhon. The reason for 2 Typhon is that we're getting into hand trap wars, and that's where Typhon tends to shine. Is it like they're made into half boards, and then I can just Typhon, and by having the second one, it's even harder for them to meaningfully stop what I'm doing. In theory, I could do 2 Typhon, 2 Zeus, that is completely reasonable, or even Gaia Charger was a card I was considering. So there's that, and then Haggard Lizard Dose, just to empty my field. Obviously, again, doesn't work up well with Purge, but the idea is there. And then Seal, this is for the F Barrel plus Luster Dragon or Ryu Ram. IP and SP, again, just kind of utility slots. And then Underworld Goddess. This is just, I guess, in theory, because like I could, in a crazy world, get 4 monsters and then take one of theirs. One card I think I need to make room for is a copy of Link Spider. So I think the Changing might come out for that. Just because like the Changing doesn't really do anything. So, but Link Spider definitely does need to come in. Just because there was a few situations when I was thinking about it where I could get to like 3 cash monsters and a normal monster, and then I could go into Goddess, but I need another effect monster because you can't use normal monsters for Goddess. So, and then the side deck. Side deck is very straightforward. So first up, there's 3 Fuelos. This is just one of the only cards I really care about for when I go second. But in certain matchups, it tends to shine. So I wanted to have it there. Like, if I'm gonna play into like a deck that can make pushes through all my hand traps, like some of these lower value hand traps, like Ogre and Droll, for example, in the Malice matchups, aren't that great. And then, you know, I can also get like a planet. I can put in Fuloses and then change up my hand trap lineup a little bit more from there to be better suited for that. So that's the idea behind Fulos. And then I play 1 each of Nibiru, Ghost Ogre, and Ghost Bell. So the reason why there's extras of these is just for matchups where they tend to shine. Like in Blue Eyes and Ryzeal, Ghost Ogre tends to get a lot better, so there's that. Fiendsmith matchups and Malice matchups, Ghost Bell tends to shine. And then Nibiru can be solid. Nibiru was also because I only had room for 1 in the main deck. So by having a second one in the side deck, that at least gave me like a decent chance to see 2. And then it also just increases the density of good hand traps, depending on the situation, especially paired with Fulos. And then from there, it is a bunch of going first cards. It's 3 Solemn Judgment, 3 Solemn Strike, 2 Destructive Daruma Karma Cannon, and a single D Barrier. So the reason here is that going first, I can just take out a ton of these hand traps that I don't think are good in that matchup, and put in the 6 Solemns and the traps, and turn my deck into a trap deck, which is really good. And that came up quite a few times where I would just draw like Strike and Judgment, and that would just help me grind out the game. The reason why there's 2 Daruma Karma Cannon and then 1 D Barrier is that going first, Daruma and D Barrier are effectively the same card in most scenarios against non-link decks. But against link decks, D Barrier is obviously useless, but Karma Cannon is going to be way better. So by having 2 Karma Cannons, they give me better chances than the 1 D Barrier, or than having like 2 D Barrier and 1 Karma Cannon. And obviously I'm not playing Thrust or Talons or anything like that, so I need to maximize the chances of seeing that. There's actually an argument for me just to play 3 Destructor Druid Karma Cannon, because this card really just is insane in Link decks. But I wanted the 1D barrier just in case I played like Mitsurugi Ryzeal, and I could have the flexibility there of being able to call like Ritual, because like the Ryzeal cards themselves don't matter, but the Mitsurugi cards are terrifying. But yeah, so that's the deck. It seems pretty solid so far. And get off to locals. Alright, locals is done, and I managed to win another box of Quarter Century Stampede, which is pretty awesome. Overall, I'd say this deck was a resounding success, and I think I'm probably going to play it again going into the next week. But let's just open up this box, and I'll talk about my matches from the last few days, since I haven't gotten to do a recap at all. Alright, so we'll just recap the games from the last few days while I'm opening this awesome box of Quarter Century Stampede. One of the last chances to get those Quarter Century Secret Rares. So Thursday, I'm gonna turn on the lamp really quick here, live editing. So Thursday, I ended up playing the Kashtira Primite deck with, what's it called? Ryuran in it. I had shown you guys that deck. It went pretty decently. My only loss was to Crystron, but I beat Mitsurugi Ryzeal, and I think Team Smith Ryzeal and stuff as well. So that's pretty solid. But I wasn't too satisfied going 3-1. Door of Destiny and 2 Collector's Rare and a Platinum Secret. I wasn't too satisfied because it just felt like the format was a little too open and it's lacking some stuff. So last night I played the deck again with just a couple of small modifications. Like I mentioned in, I believe, the deck profile. And it was okay. I ended up losing round 1 to Goblin Biker this time. And one of the things that I noticed was that Metal Tronus was really underperforming. The format just felt too open. I wasn't playing against enough Ryzeal decks or Malice decks, so I wanted to have something else. So we're gonna put the Nostalgia Pool card last. Let's take a look at what we get in the... No, it's not bad. And, ooh, Quarter Century Secret Rare Graph. That's pretty cool. So we took out the Metal Tronuses today, as you guys saw in the deck profile portion, for a ton of hand traps. Originally I was going to go with Board Breakers. Ultimate Rare Alice is pretty cool, and a Splash Mage. We were going to go with Board Breakers with like Book of Moon, Book of Eclipse. And then I ended up going with even more hand traps, playing with Ghost Mourner and Ghost Bell, and Ghost Ogre, and all these other cards. And that went really well. Automata Pyra, Ultimate Rare Black Metal. This is crazy looking. I don't know if I can get the pattern on there too perfectly, but... and we get a Spiral Master Plan. Never want to see that deck again. And tonight was pretty good. I ended up going 4-0 in the box tournament, which is pretty awesome. Hey, an engraver. We'll put that up here as well. Ooh, throw that. And a secret rare tour guide. I ended up going X1 or undefeated. My apologies. I played against what did I play against round 1? Crystron with Millennium cards, which you guys can see in the footage going on right now. That one was pretty one-sided. His draws weren't like the greatest, and I was able to pretty quickly just pick apart his plays there. Let's see what we get for our second Quarter Century Gear. I'm a big fan of this deck, actually. It's a deck I really enjoyed playing a lot back when that was at its heyday. I wasn't particularly good with it, but I thought it was really fun. It was really rewarding, too. And then round 2, I played... Oh, I spoiled that a little early. Let's see what we get. Hey, a Collector's Rare Ausa. That's cool. Round 2, what did I play against? I played against another Crystron. That match was a grind. He ended up winning game 1, pushing through all my stuff. Game 2, I ended up winning with 500 life points left, because I flipped double Strike and a Judgment, which those cards were very solid. Secret Rare, drew by Karma Cannon. And our Nostalgia card is Ice Bell. That's cool. Fun fact about Ice Bell, my very first, my second UDS, the first one after the WCQ in 2017, right when Pendulum Evolution dropped, I played a True Draco deck with Wind Witches in it, and it was terrible. At that event, I swore I had solved the format. I thought I had something really spicy, and I went like X2 drop, or X3 drop. And then round 3 tonight, I played against Fiendsmith Ryziel. He couldn't do too much. My deck was honestly just like very overwhelming. You know, it was all the hand traps primarily, which was kind of the idea in the deck, was that like I'd have a ton of hand traps, simplify the game state, and then I could either just rely on the Kashtira cards or even like a copy of Typhon to really put us in. Ooh, Assembled Nightingale, that's cool. And our Lavolval Chain. I actually don't own these cards. That's really exciting. But like a Typhon plus hand traps and stuff like that would just be like too much, and then you'd have like the Ether Barrel coming back with the Drill Beam, you know, resetting itself and stuff. And that did come up quite a bit tonight. Also, what came up actually was utilizing Ether Barrel's secondary effect just to get it off the field, so I could Foolish Burial and the last card, Union Hanger. So I could Foolish Burial all noble monsters, and then on the following turn I could get back the Ether Barrel. That actually came up a few times, which is pretty cool. And then the last round I played against Voiceless Voice Ryziel, which is something that I think is more of an OCG thing that I've seen. Winda, very good. Celantis, and Archfiend Eccentric. And our Nostalgia card is Terminal World. Oh, that's terrible. But the Voiceless Voice Ryziel deck just couldn't keep up. It was all the hand traps, and then the Kashtira cards put in way too much work way too quickly. And so he was another Collector's Rare Black Metal. I already have 3, but that's really cool. That'll be something that's on my binder for sure. And the Nostalgia Pool, Fairy Tale Snow, good card. He was just unable to keep up. Game 2 was a perfect example. After winning Game 1, the moment that he resolved a search card, I drolled, and he tried to survive and just got OTK'd. This is one that's really near and dear to my heart. I took a break from competitive play for like a year, and when I came back, Shaddoll was the first deck I played. Topped a couple regionals and a ARG with it, and then we get a card D. So seeing Winda is really cool. But yeah, I think this might be the deck that I play again. Originally I was just going to play it for the 1 week just to take a break from Blue Eyes, but I feel like this deck actually has a lot of potential. Obviously if I can get the Fiendsmith engine in there, it'll be even better. But we'll have to see. And then our Nostalgia Pool card is Traptrix Mermaleo. Alright, we're down to our last few packs. Well, like last 6 or 7 packs after this. We'll just do it this way. Ambler Whale. Ultimate Rare Splash Mage, that's pretty cool. Ultimate Rare Dark Magicians. Platinum Secret Assembled Nightingale, so we got 3 hits. And then Phoenixian Cluster Amaryllis, another card that's very near and dear to my heart. Very excited. We are down to the last 7 packs. So hopefully we can get another QCR. Hopefully we get a big, a winning QCR here, because so far these aren't, they're cool, but they're not not the ones I've really been looking to get. So we got Giant Hand, Raging Phoenix, Crystron Phoenix, Secret Black Rose Dragon, reminds me a lot of the Tins, and Goes in Match. That one I would have been most disappointed to get a quarter century. I just got one last night. But yeah, so let me know down below if you guys like seeing the multiple matches, and let me know if you like seeing the match with commentary on it as well. It's something I will be doing going forward if the feedback is really good on it, because I got a better camera stand. Astrocula Big Eye, Quarter Century Pantera. It's cool because I like the Vanquish Soul deck, and Block Dragon. All right. This is a Bit of a dud. We didn't get any Fuloses here either so far. Oh, and I just spoiled that, so we'll just kind of breeze through this one. Collector's Rare Aether, that's cool. A Dusted Gold and Memotolin Bone Party. I can't speak. But yeah, so next weekend we have the 3v3, which will be very exciting. Hopefully we can perform well there. Zodiac Barrage. Abyss Gaios is a Plat Secret, and Moki Moki. So this one will be going to one of my close friends. Nick, if you're watching this, shout out to you. This is for you, buddy. It's, I think like his favorite. Pretty sure it's his favorite card. So, all right. Third to last pack. Hita, Lunalight Tiger, Mad Love, Secret Rare Ash Blossom Joy Spring with the Altern, and Drak Meteor. Okay. Saying if you use these Ash Blossoms, that's not cool, man. It's not outside of Master Duel. Got Lilla, Cowboy, Abyssland, Secret Rare Hero Lives. This will go to my friend Evan, and a quarter century Secret Rare Exceeds Universe. It's a bunch of duds. This bad box is a bunch of duds, but that's okay. It's more about you know, just seeing the growth in play. So I'm not too upset about it. Ashla Kribo, Pantera, Giant Hand, Caesar Valius. What nostalgia pool card would I like to get? Let's see. Skull Servant. It's another one of my friend's favorite cards. So yeah, not the greatest box, but that's okay. You know, the quarter centuries are always cool. And you know, it's really more, like I said, just about getting to appreciate the growth and play. So that's very exciting to see here. Let's see if we missed a Fulos or an Engraver in here at all. Let's see. I don't think we did. I think we just got the one Engraver, no Fuloses. Wow. That's a bit of a letdown. Well, yeah, second Ash. That's something. Wow. All right. Pretty weak, but that's fine. Yeah, let me know down below if you guys like the longer matches, the full matches and stuff. You know, I'm gonna have one that's going as B-roll, and then I'll have one that's going with commentary as well. And let me know if you guys want to see any other decks. Let me know if you have any ideas for the cash deck. Obviously, if I can get the feeds with cards, this will go in there. But otherwise, this is just another week. So have a good one.